Hello and welcome to another episode of Damn Interesting Week. We are so glad you've decided to join us. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And this was a damn interesting week. So let's get started with our first link.
First
link.
Okay, from the conversation. Why is there always room for dessert?
I feel like denial is my main reason.
Well, the Japanese have captured this perfectly with the word betsubara, which means separate stomach. And of course, anatomically speaking, there is no extra compartment, but the sensation of still having space for pudding is widespread enough to deserve a scientific explanation.
I really like that they had to clarify. They're like, scientifically, you don't. Like, in the modern age, we got to cover all readership.
You really do.
That's right. I mean, there could be surgical or genetic tomfoolery to give us like a kangaroo pouch. There's no telling. But it's also not purely imaginary because the feeling does reflect a series of physiological and psychological processes. So let's start with the stomach itself. Most people will picture it as a fixed size bag that fills steadily until it can take no more. In reality, the stomach is designed to stretch and adapt. So as we begin to eat, it undergoes gastric accommodation. And here's the kicker. Soft and sweet foods require very little mechanical digestion. It barely challenges the workload, so the stomach is able to relax further to make space.
What about chocolate cake?
I think grains are going to be hard to digest. Chocolate milk, however, you get to fill in all the gaps in between your bites of dinner.
That's science.
Yeah,
That's right. It is science. And it's also psychology because a lot of the drive to eat these sweets comes from the brain and specifically the neural pathways involved in reward and pleasure. That's because appetite is not governed solely by physical hunger. There is also hedonic hunger. And this is where sweet foods are particularly potent because they activate the brain's mesolimbic dopamine system, which heightens the motivation to eat and temporarily weakens fullness signals. And of course, timing plays a role too. The gut-brain signaling that creates the sensation of fullness doesn't happen instantly. We've got hormones like cholecytokinin, GLP-1, which is a popular keyword right now, and peptide YY. Those hormones rise gradually, and they typically take between 20 and 40 minutes to produce a sustained sense of satiation. So dessert first, you may be onto something with that, Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, it also is a good case for eating slowly. Because I tend to eat very quickly because I'm impatient and I'm done with the whole plate before I even start to think about, oh, do I feel full? And it's not till later that I'm like, oh, I ate too much.
That's it. And of course, we have to fight restaurants because whether they're doing it consciously or otherwise, my guess is conscious, they will often time dessert offerings within that 20 to 40 minute window.
Right.
They want to make sure that they're, oh, can I tempt you into dessert before those hormones have had a chance to surface? So the next time someone says they're too full for another mouthful, but finds a little slice of cake making its way in, just rest assured they're not being inconsistent. They're just experiencing a perfectly normal and rather elegant feature of the human body.
So don't judge me, okay?
That's right. You don't know
Lay
me.
off me, I'm starving.
You don't know when those hormones are going to surface. Easy now.
Yeah.
All right, next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from The Scientist. It's titled, What are Giant Viruses and Are They Dangerous?
I'm going to hope not. I mean,
Yeah, the good news is they're pretty isolated from us. So in 2003, Jean-Michel Claverie made a discovery in bacterial genomics that would begin a new era in microbiology. Now a semi-retired bioinformatician, he said, "One day we found a very strange beast that nobody could characterize. Growing in an amoebal host, this, quote, beast had been isolated from a water cooling tower in England following a pneumonia outbreak a decade earlier. It looked and acted like a parasitic bacterium, yet it could not be extracted using any established protocols, nor amplified using rDNA bacterial primers. It wasn't until Claverie examined it under a powerful electron microscope that they realized it wasn't a bacterium at all, but an enormous virus. Claverie recalled, "This changed my life, basically." Named mimivirus for the way it mimicked the microbial prey of the amoeba, it had an icosahedral capsid with a diameter of about 400 nanometers, which sounds tiny, but it's far bigger than typical viruses. So the team immediately wondered if this was a freak of nature or if there were more of these giant viruses hidden in plain sight. So now, more than 20 years after their initial discovery, researchers have found them lurking in the vast expanse of the ocean, buried in the Siberian permafrost, deep in the Brazilian Amazon, and in forests, lakes, and rivers across the globe. Marine microbiologist Mohammed Moniruzzaman's interest was piqued when his PhD advisor discovered giant viruses infecting oceanic algae. As it turns out, giant viruses in the ocean play a key role in the marine food web. By infecting photosynthetic phytoplankton and protists, they contribute to the oceanic carbon sink, providing what is known as the viral shunt. Claverie explains, if those microbes are killed by viruses, the carbon they represent sinks to the bottom of the ocean and is not available as nutriment for higher level organisms. In fact, around 1/3 of the ocean's plankton is killed by viruses every day, and without them, in less than 1 or 2 weeks, the ocean will look like a spinach soup.
Yeah, okay.
But Claverie's research has strayed into the realm of the controversial. In 2012, he read a study that described growing fertile plants from viable seeds found in fossilized squirrel burrows embedded in the Siberian permafrost. He said, if those guys are able to revive a plant, we should be able to revive a virus, which is, Fortunately, the team was able to study the same samples from which they successfully isolated 2 giant viruses. Incredibly, even after epochs on ice, the ancient virus could be revived and were able to infect their amoebal hosts. The media attention was significant, and Pithovirus sibiricum, a 30,000-year-old giant virus, soon became known rather notoriously as the zombie virus. But the fears surrounding this research were misdirected, according to Claverie. He says his team pragmatically only works on giant viruses that infect amoebas to reduce the risk of any human disease outbreaks.
That he knows of. I mean,
I mean, I hope that the vibe is that the viruses are just too big to, affect us. But, you're rooting around down there. Like, I'm sure you got some little ones, like the milk that came in, the chocolate milk that came in after all the giant virus main course.
Fills all the gaps.
Or it might not affect us, but it might affect some sort of ecosystem that we rely on.
Yes,
make the ocean an algae soup. Like, that image is still very disturbing to me, that all of the ocean could be full of slime.
Yeah. But to be clear, we need the giant viruses for that.
True.
So, according to Claverie, the real danger lies in the effects of climate change and other anthropogenic factors. The permafrost is thawing more each year, and there's also active efforts to mine it for valuable minerals. Using a metagenomics approach, he and others have identified many relatives of modern human pathogens lurking in the permafrost, including poxviruses and herpes viruses. Russian researchers recently indicated that they were attempting to revive viruses from the permafrost that are capable of infecting mammoths. I don't think that's a good idea, Claverie said.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said for, if we're going to melt the permafrost either way, maybe this guy getting some advanced knowledge about what's under there is a good thing. But also, we could not melt it. That's also an option.
No.
Yeah, not actually in the long run of human behavior and history. But yes, we could not do that.
Yeah, every time we read these stories, I think to myself, hey, what am I doing with my life?
Sharing the hard science on the podcast.
Sharing the hard science, exactly.
Enjoying it while it lasts is what we're all doing.
Next link.
Next link.
All right, on that same note, this is from BBC. Dark energy just got even weirder, and why the universe may end in a big crunch.
Oh boy, what a theme.
So there is growing controversy over recent evidence suggesting that a mysterious force known as dark energy might be changing in a way that challenges our current understanding of space-time. So an analysis by a South Korean team has hinted that rather than the universe continuing to expand, galaxies could be pulled back together by gravity, ending in what astrologers are calling a big crunch. So, what is dark energy? We don't know. But astronomers previously thought that the universe's expansion, which began with the Big Bang around 13.8 billion years ago, should gradually slow due to gravity. Then, evidence for dark energy was discovered in 1998 as a force actually accelerating the expansion of the universe. Some theories suggested that this ever-accelerating universe could first spread the stars so far apart that almost nothing would be visible in the night sky. And there would be no night sky because everything's been ripped apart and not vibrating anymore. Right. So the controversy began in March with unexpected results from an instrument on a telescope in the Arizona desert called DESI, Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument. It tracked the acceleration of millions of galaxies in exquisite detail, but astronomers were not expecting the results it came up with. The data hinted that acceleration of the galaxies had changed over time. Then, in November, Professor Young-Wook Lee of Yonsei University in Seoul and his team went back to the kind of supernova data that first revealed dark energy 27 years ago. Instead of treating these stellar explosions as having one standard brightness, they adjusted for the ages of the galaxy they came from and worked out how bright the supernovas really were. This adjustment showed that not only had dark energy changed over time, but shockingly, the acceleration was slowing down.
Well, and it does make more sense than everything accelerating.
Maybe.
Sure, it could be wrong.
Yeah. So if, as Professor Lee's results suggest, the force that is pulling galaxies from each other is weakening, then one possibility is that it becomes so weak that gravity begins to pull everything back together. But I'll never know that because I won't live that long. His work has been checked by fellow experts and published in respected journals of the RAS, but his claims have not gone down very well with many senior astronomers working in the field. But, according to Professor Lee, our data is based on 300 galaxies. The statistical significance is roughly 1 in a trillion chance of being a fluke. So I strongly feel that already our research is very, very significant. There will be continued contentious debate. And, this isn't a bad thing, according to Professor Robert Massey, who is RAS's deputy director, who doesn't want to understand how the universe is going to end. Humans have always been interested in that, whether you take it from a religious perspective or a scientific one.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an easier thing to be arguing over than some of the things we like to argue over instead. So I feel like if we could all just sort of expand a little bit and be like, let's debate the end of the universe as opposed to like my local HOA regulations, that might be a little more productive, maybe.
Yeah.
Next link.
Next link.
All right. I've got a kind of quick but mysterious one here from Ars Technica called Healthy 18-year-old Welder Nearly Died of Anthrax, the 9th Such Puzzling Case.
Oh, that's too many.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be honest, the cynical person that I am, I read the headline and was like, there's no puzzle here. Someone is just poisoning people with anthrax. But it turns out, actually, no. All of these cases have been isolated from one another. And it seems that for some reason, welders have a particular susceptibility to anthrax in the environment.
What?
Yeah. And in fact, it was formally named Welder's anthrax in 2022, with the most recent case study being published just a few days ago.
Huh.
That welder was, as the headline says, a healthy 18-year-old who didn't even have any risk factors like smoking or heavy drinking. He just developed a mild cough one day, and less than a week later, he was admitted to the hospital with severe pneumonia and respiratory failure, requiring intubation and mechanical ventilation. Fortunately, the doctors realized that the pneumonia might be secondary and ran a blood test to check for other pathogens. And what they found was a bacterium in the Bacillus cereus group, which includes standard anthrax, but also a few other species that kill through a very similar method. And while the official anthrax species is pretty rare and basically only accessible in labs, the sister species, B. cereus and B. tropicus, are quite common, to the point that B. cereus is actually considered endemic to the soil throughout the United States. Like, you can just get it. You don't have to be next to a sick person.
Cool.
But we have immune systems, and we seem to be able to fight them off pretty well because picking up a full infection from one of these anthrax-adjacent bacillus species is still pretty rare. unless, of course, you're a welder. Because out of the 9 confirmed cases between 1997 and today, all 9 of them were metal workers. And the short answer is we still don't know why. According to the CDC, the 2 prevailing theories right now are, number 1, there's potentially something in the toxic fumes of welding that weakens the immune system in a uniquely dangerous way. And or, number 2, metal workers might be building up a surplus of iron in their bloodstream, and the bacillus group in general requires a significant amount of iron to thrive.
Yeah, but he was 18. He hadn't been working in metal that long.
Well, they
right?
they kind of put his work schedule in there. Like, he hadn't necessarily been doing it for a lot of years, but he was working like 6 days a week. He was welding a lot.
Okay.
And they note that the place he was doing it was not following a lot of the like ventilation protocols. Like, he wasn't wearing a mask because he's an 18-year-old. He's like, I can live forever. The good news is he wasn't wrong. The most recent 8-year-old to get a full-blown infection did survive, unlike 6 of his compatriots. And that was largely due to the quick thinking of his doctors, who, after discovering the disease, were able to order an anthrax antitoxin from the U.S. Strategic National Stockpile, which is the only place you can get it. So if you're a welder and you get a bad cough, you should maybe take it seriously because you might have anthrax.
Good Lord.
Right, and I'm wondering, too, if he was younger, if he was more prone to go to the doctor quicker than some of the older dudes, too, who were like, I'll just tough it out.
Yeah, the scientists definitely, they postulated, like, there are more cases that we don't know about. Because if they hadn't done a blood test, they would have just said he had pneumonia, he died from pneumonia. Like, there very much is a sense that this is much more widespread, potentially among welders, potentially among everybody. It's hard to say. But we better start mass producing the anthrax antitoxin if that's the case.
Yeah, what a bottleneck available at one location.
Well, and that's part of the deal is that they kind of were thinking that only anthrax was going to need the anthrax antitoxin. And they have really only recently discovered these 2 new species at all. And so it's really sort of an explosion in realizing, hey, there's this anthrax-like bacteria everywhere, and we should maybe be more aware of it. So,
well, it's a good thing we've got a lot of research money going into science.
Yeah. For what it's worth, it's mostly in Texas and Louisiana, so you guys are safe. Like, you've escaped.
Well, good thing that people are still using masks regularly.
Well, welding masks are very different from
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to see someone like on the subway wearing a full welder's mask as a.
Careful for the future you wish for.
I know. Let's go back to talking about the end of the universe, please. Is that all right? Next link.
Next link. All right, also from Ars Technica, China has just drafted the world's strictest rules to end AI-encouraged suicide and violence.
Good? I mean, is it going to work?
Yeah, kind of a hesitant, well, it may. I mean, we know that they're pretty big on enforcement.
That's true.
Yeah, and what they're doing is intriguingly along what could be good lines. I don't know how much I could hedge that sentence further, but basically they've drafted landmark rules to stop AI chatbots from emotionally manipulating users, including what could be the strictest policy worldwide intended to prevent AI-supported suicide, self-harm, and violence. So China's Cyberspace Administration proposed the rules recently. If finalized, they would apply to any AI products or services publicly available in China that use text, images, audio, video, or, quote, other means, way to stay future forward there, to stimulate engaging human conversation. So even last year in 2025, researchers flagged major harms of AI companions, including promotion of self-harm, violence, and terrorism. Beyond that, chatbots shared harmful misinformation, made unwanted sexual advances, encouraged substance abuse, and verbally abused users. Some psychiatrists are increasingly ready to link psychosis to chatbot use, according to the Wall Street Journal. And while the most popular chatbot in the world, ChatGPT, has triggered lawsuits over outputs linked to child suicide, murder-suicide, yeah, still ongoing. So China is now moving to eliminate the most extreme threats. The proposed rules would require, for example, that a human intervene as soon as suicide is mentioned. The rules also dictate that all minor and elderly users must provide the contact information for a guardian when they register, because that guardian would be notified if suicide or self-harm is discussed. Goes further. Generally, chatbots would be prohibited from generating content that attempts to emotionally manipulate a user, such as by making false promises. That is such a broad category that so many chatbots and companions now ultimately rely on. Now, chatbots would also be banned from promoting obscenity, gambling, or slandering or insulting users.
Ah, there's the rub.
Also banned are what are termed emotional traps. Chatbots would additionally be prevented from misleading users into making, quote, unreasonable decisions.
Yeah. I mean, what this really does is just block all the chatbots because none of them are even close to being able to do this.
Well, it's funny you say that because the very next paragraph goes into what is troubling to AI developers about this because China's rules would put an end to building chatbots that, quote, induce addiction and dependence as design goals.
That's the design goal.
Yeah. That's the whole foundation of how they currently operate. But what I love thinking about is, well, what would they look like if they did it?
Yeah. And listen, long term, if we spend another 20 years on this, we might come up with an ideal solution that really does do what we want it to do and not do any of these things. But it's going to take all these things off the market and out of the public use until that happens.
Right. Which is why we're talking about this in terms of it would and it could, because there are a lot of interested parties to want to make sure this doesn't happen. But in lawsuits, ChatGPT maker OpenAI has been accused of prioritizing profits over users' mental health by allowing harmful chats to continue. In fact, the AI company has acknowledged that its safety guardrails weaken the longer a user remains in the chat. China plans to curb that threat by requiring AI developers to blast users with annoying pop-up reminders when chatbot use exceeds 2 hours. Now, AI developers will also likely balk at annual safety tests and audits that China wants to require for any service or product exceeding 1 million registered users or more than 100,000 monthly active users. Those audits would log user complaints, which may multiply if the rules pass, as China also plans to require AI developers to make it easier to report complaints and feedback. So should any AI company fail to follow the rules, app stores could be ordered to terminate access to their chatbots in China, which could very well mess with AI firms' hopes for global dominance because China's market is key to promoting companion bots. According to Business Research Insights, in 2025, the global companion bot market exceeded $360 billion.
Wow.
By 2035, BRI's forecast suggests it could near a $1 trillion valuation.
Yeah, but we have a massive bubble.
Well, and also the question of the valuation. I want to know how many people are using a chatbot. What's the percentage of people I walk down the street and pass and go, oh, you secretly have an AI girlfriend?
Well, it's the AI-friendly Asian markets that are potentially driving the bulk of that growth, which is why China may be introducing these before the U.S. And I got to say, if this is part of the soft war play for dominance, intriguing move, China, because how this gets enforced and executed is, a lot of different ways it could go. But things like eliminating emotional manipulation, that would be just a major sea change.
Yeah. I mean, fingers crossed. I don't often say I want China to solve this problem, but they may be the only person, the only entity in a position to do it.
Yep. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? Next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from Smithsonian Magazine. It's titled, "The Louvre Installs Metal Security Bars on Window Used During $102 Million Jewel Heist."
On the one window?
Right. All the rest of the windows are still open, but that one's got bars.
No, they are doing overall renovations, but I'm sure they got that specific one. They probably put an extra lock on it.
Fast-tracked it.
Extra bars. So 2 months after thieves broke in and stole valuable jewels from the Louvre, the Paris Museum is taking steps to beef up its security. Most recently, crews installed large metal bars over the second floor window the burglars used to enter the institution undetected. The museum acknowledged the work on social media, writing that it's learning all the lessons from the theft and is continuing its transformation and the strengthening of its security architecture. On the morning of October 19th, thieves posing as maintenance workers parked a truck against one of the museum's exterior walls, then used an extendable ladder to reach the second floor window. Operating in broad daylight, they used an angle grinder to cut through the glass and enter the gallery. They smashed 2 display cases, grabbed 8 pieces of jewelry worth an estimated $102 million, and escaped with seconds to spare. Authorities have since arrested at least 8 people in connection with the robbery, but they have not recovered the missing jewels. experts suspect the artifacts have likely been dismantled and sold off in pieces. Meanwhile, Louvre leaders have acknowledged major security gaps at the museum.
Did they let us know what those weaknesses are?
Have they announced?
I think we will. Yeah, now that we've heard how they're fixing them. So the authorities are installing physical barriers to prevent vehicles from ramming into the building. They're adding another 100 cameras around the perimeter. French police have also increased their presence, deploying a mobile squad in the roundabout in front of the glass pyramid. Earlier this year, President Emmanuel Macron revealed an $800 million expansion and renovation plan. The project is largely focused on modernizing the aging building and easing overcrowding, but also includes security upgrades. In the meantime, workers continue to strike in protest of low pay, understaffing, building deterioration, and management decisions. Earlier this month, a multi-day strike disrupted operations for several days. The Louvre started its life as a fortress built in the 12th century under Philip II to protect Paris from invaders. Decades later, Francis I tore it down and built a Renaissance-style palace in its place. The ornate residence housed French royalty until the 1600s, when Louis XIV built the Palace of Versailles. In the late 18th century, the old palace was transformed into the public art museum that we know today, and the last major renovation took place in the 1980s when it was modernized to accommodate up to 4 million visitors per year. But in 2024, the Louvre welcomed 8.7 million visitors, so quite a bit. They've also implemented a daily cap of 30,000 guests, but even so, visitors still have long lines and crowded galleries, especially in the room that contains the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it sucks to imagine, like, you take a vacation to France and the workers are on strike the day you're trying to go to the Louvre. But on the other hand, like, maybe split it up between a few museums, you know, to have it all in one place. Also, for the record, if you can use an angle grinder to cut out a window, you can use an angle grinder to cut bars. Like, that's not...
May take you a little longer, but, you know.
Yeah, it gives you, you know, they escaped with seconds to spare. Maybe if they had had to work a little harder on that window, they would have been caught. All right, well, that is all we have time for today. We're so glad you've joined us. Some of the articles we did not have time to get to today include why doesn't the Yucatan have rivers, how Supermax prisons actually work, and this experimental camera can focus on everything at once. So all that and more, plus everything we talked about today, can be found on damninteresting.com. If you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.